in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country. The only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Today, once again, we're talking about religion. And a man who knows it, well, kind of inside out. He's written several books, has several videos out. We'll talk to him and we'll take your questions. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Hey, time to crank it up. We're talking religion today. Back in a moment. Back here on the program today, we're talking religion, and as usual, my friends, I want to mention that we are on a Comcast, channel 187 and 43.6 and 13.1. Of course, that's where you can watch the live broadcast each and every Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning. Then, if you can't watch us between 10 and 11, you can watch the replay. Comes up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at 13.6 and 8 o'clock at night on 4.6 Biz TV. You can check out the Twitter account if you so choose at John Mallows Me TV. Before we get started here talking about religion, I do want to mention tomorrow's program. We'll have the Assistant DA on tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about Keith Foster, Lisa Smith-Camp, and she's relatively new in office. We'll talk about some topics such as Janessa Ramirez and possibly legalizing marijuana here in the state of California. Second half of the program, how about the FIFA scandal? Oh my gosh, this thing has blown wide open. We'll have a guest on the telephone. He'll be live from Sacramento. This man associated with FIFA to a certain extent and was interviewed by the FBI recently. So he'll be on the telephone. We'll tackle both of those issues tomorrow. Very interesting program. But for now, we're going to try to tackle religion. And not too long ago on the program here, this very program, we talked about religion separately, Christianity, Judaism, and of course Islam. And according to our guest today, those three to a certain extent or somehow are related. He'll explain in just a moment. In the meantime, roll the videotape, show you what I'm talking about. Even in the old city of Jerusalem, this is where apparently it all started, there has always been this epic battle over religion. Clashes between the Jews and the Muslims. Christianity has also played a role in these clashes. The Palestinians have always come up as those people without a state, and the solution continues to elude the powers that be in this country and in Israel and certainly in the Arab world. Jerusalem considered the Holy Land for both Christians and Jews and many Muslims, but Mecca is where it all started for them. The best way to start an argument with anyone as you see the clashes inside the Dome of the Rock here in Jerusalem, especially with family members or friends, is to talk about religion. I've said that many, many times on this program, especially during the holidays, right, around the dinner table. Today we will talk about the following religions: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, and the New Age movement. What is that? We'll explain. Live in our studio right now is Mike Bogart, a world religion teacher at West Hills Community College in Lemoore. He has written several books, produced many videos. He is also considered a pastor. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Hey, you want to start an argument? Best way to do it is right here on a Wednesday morning. Connect with me, 436-ME-TV, option 11. At the very least, offer up an opinion. We're back with our guest and our program in just a moment.
It's almost time.
Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent and Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the Me TV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The Adventures of Superman.
Now on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program, what are your thoughts about religion? Hey, the 5 or 6 that we're going to tackle today, you may want to call in and weigh in. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Mike Bogart is a first-time guest and a professor in Lemoore.
That's right.
How long?
I've been at West Hills College, I think probably working on 24, 25 years, something like that.
Wow. Okay. You've got some books there in the corner. Before I get started, hand me those books there,
Sure.
Mike. Thank you very much. So you've written 1, 2, 3, 4 books. This first one is called The New Age Religion. This one is on Mormonism. Understanding Islam is the next one. And then this one is Jehovah's Witness right here. You know those people that come up to your door every Saturday morning dressed in fine suits and
Yes.
trying to get you to come outside and join the club, right?
Well, hopefully not every Saturday morning, but yeah.
Well, it's pretty regular, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for the most part.
They have the goal of knocking on every door in the world. Literally, that is their goal.
Well, we know that's not possible. I mean, you're not going to knock on every door in the world.
That's true, but they're making good headway, aren't they?
There's like, what, 6 to 8 billion people in the world?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of folks.
It is. And you've also produced like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos. And so when you teach religion it's West Hills College, right? In
That's
Lemoore.
Right. That's right.
What do you teach? Out of all the religions that there are in the world, and there are many of them, what's your main focus?
Well, obviously in a single course, you have to hit the high points of the major religions. And so there's no way...
What are the major religions in your opinion?
Okay, well, so here's what we cover in my course.
Okay.
We start off with just, what is religion in general and what are some of the goals and characteristics common to all religions. And then we move into what we call either tribal religion, sometimes it's called nature culture, sometimes it's called animism. So it'd be typical of the kinds of religion that tribal peoples would do around the world. From there we move into the religions of the Indian subcontinent, which would be Hinduism, Jainism, sometimes called Jainism, and Buddhism. And from there we go to China and Japan, talking about Taoism, Chinese Buddhism, Shinto, and then we get into what we call the Abrahamic faiths, which would be Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And in a 17 to 18 week course, that's about as much as you can manage.
Where is God, in your opinion?
Where is God?
Yeah, I want to know where God is.
Can you
answer that?
I'm coming from a Christian perspective myself, personally.
Okay, so where is he?
Well, God is everywhere. I mean, the Bible says that.
I don't want to hear that. I want to know where he is. I want to know where he is.
Well, God's sitting right here between you and me, right here, John.
Is he sitting closer to you or to me?
Well, I don't know that God has sides like that. I don't know.
Is he a Giants fan, a Raiders fan? What is he?
God is definitely a Saints fan.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, yeah, but when you say that, we joke about that. So theoretically, where do you think he is?
You mean in location?
Yeah, in location. Like if you were to pinpoint, is he in New York? Is he in Sacramento? Is he in Fresno?
Well,
where is he? Physically, is he up in outer space somewhere? And if so, if he's in heaven, where's heaven located?
Wow, you're asking me a really deep question. My opinion is informed by Christianity and by the Bible. According to what I believe, God is bigger than any location. So he transcends the universe, and that means he can be everywhere.
Where's
inside
heaven?
The universe. I believe heaven is in some location outside the physical universe. That's my faith. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a long way.
Well, yeah. Or maybe it's the short way. Maybe it's just on the other side of the veil. I don't know.
Who knows? Who really knows? And so, I mentioned in the monologue that Islam, Judaism, and Christianity are closely tied.
Right.
Explain why and how, in your opinion.
Well, they're called the Abrahamic faiths because if they have a link, it goes back to the patriarch Abraham. And
Abraham was?
Abraham lived about 2000 BC, so about 4,000 years ago. He was the ancestor of the Jews and
the Muslims.
And the Arabs.
Yeah, slash Muslim.
Well, because Muslims can be non-Arab people. They can be Indonesian or Filipino or, so Muslim is a religious affiliation.
Right.
Arab is an ethnic
group, yeah.
Right.
So he was the father of the Jews and the Arabs.
And the Arabs.
Okay.
Right. And so, and then of course, through Judaism, Christians have a link to him as well, although not an ethnic link.
Do you find that most people are confused between the term Arab and Muslim? They think it's one and the same?
Exactly, right, yeah.
Why is that?
Because so many Arabs are Muslims. But you have Arab Christians. You
certainly do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lebanese Arab Christians and others. I mean, you've got Egyptian Coptic Christians.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Syrian Orthodox, Arab Christians. But so many of the Arabs are Islamic. And so I think that's why the association is made. But then again, as I mentioned, I mean, Muslim people can be all sorts of other, Indonesian, African, all sorts of other ethnicities as well.
Can you have Japanese and Chinese Muslims?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're talking with Mike Bogart. He is a religious scholar, so to speak, and a pastor, talking about all sorts of religions. We're going to get heavy into this topic here when we come back. 436 MeTV, option 11. Back in a moment.
We need help to find this missing child. Delano Wilson was 1 month old when he went missing. He was last seen in Indianapolis, Indiana, August 27th of 2014. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Delano Wilson home.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Muslims would say that Islam was practiced long before Muhammad's time, going back as far as Adam in the Garden of Eden. Indeed, most scholars agree that Islam does have roots which can be traced back to the patriarch Abraham, who lived around 4,000 years ago. And that means that Islam is related to Judaism and Christianity through their common roots that these traditions share in the faith of Abraham. Let me see if I can paint a word picture for you, illustrating this relationship. In your mind, picture a tree with two main branches. The roots of the tree represent Abraham's faith, his personal faith in the God of the Bible. The trunk of the tree represents the religion of ancient Israel, which really begins with Moses and receiving of Israel's laws and teachings called the Torah. Ancient Israelite religion continues with Samuel, King David, the prophets, and toward the end with Ezra the priest. Well, the tree forks into its branches because of several issues, which caused the split between Judaism and Christianity.
All right, that was Mike Bogart, one of his videos that he has produced. It's called Understanding Islam. He also wrote a book about that. And so let me ask you something. As we roll the videotape from Mecca, have you been to Mecca, by the way?
No, I have not, and you wouldn't be able to either.
Okay, and are you planning to go anytime soon? They won't let you.
Unless you're a Muslim, you cannot go.
You cannot set foot on that holy ground.
No.
Fastest growing religion in the world?
Some say so, yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How many?
About probably almost 2 billion people.
2 billion in Europe, Africa, North America, Canada?
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
Pretty much every continent.
How about Asia?
Yes, certainly. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world in terms of population.
What are we looking at here? This is obviously the center of Mecca.
This is the Kaaba. It's the holiest place in Islam. That shrine used to be a pagan shrine, which Muhammad cleansed of all the idols. And now it has a single stone in there, probably a meteorite, which is very holy to Islam.
Why?
Because I think
meteorite?
It was holy, I think, before Islam came along, and it was the only thing Muhammad didn't get rid of in terms of the idols in there. But what you're seeing is the time of pilgrimage where Muslims go to Mecca on a holy journey. And
what's the holy journey? What are they going there for?
It's called the Hajj. It's a time of spiritual purification. It's a time in which they can go and for example, they make an animal sacrifice. You can see a picture of it right there where they're preparing to make a sacrifice.
Yeah.
They're throwing rocks symbolically at Satan in that picture. Of course, you see the white garments. Everybody dresses alike. It's a time of equality. So you may be a millionaire. You're going to dress exactly the same as the peasant farmer who comes to Mecca. There's a lot of different things that happen to you in Mecca. But when you come back from Mecca, from the Hajj, you're considered to be holy for a period of time. And a lot of people would like to die right after the Hajj because you're clean.
You're kidding.
Yeah, that's the
We saw some of the washing stations there. What do they do? What's that all about?
Well, not only in Mecca, but in preparation for prayer 5 times a day, you're gonna wash. Every time of prayer requires some washing.
Okay, so what is Islam? They believe in Allah, which is God, right? And who was the prophet? Was it Muhammad?
Muhammad was the prophet, yes.
Okay, and what do they practice? A lot of people think when they okay, in this day and age, especially after 9/11, they think, look, you read the Quran and you believe in Allah, you believe in killing people, suicide bombers, sacrificing your children, sacrificing any of your relatives. Is there any teaching in the Quran that talks about the killing of infidels?
Certainly. There are what they call
the
jihad verses, yes.
Really?
There are probably, I'm estimating, depends on what you include, but I think 6 or 7 different places in the Quran. Understand the context, though. And here I am, a Christian defending Muslims. The context of that is when that was written, Muslims were a very small minority under attack, and those verses were written in response to the pressure that the Muslim community was receiving at the time. So Muhammad said, fight back, destroy the unbelievers.
Destroy the infidels?
Yes, or the unbelievers.
It specifically states that in the Quran.
It specifically states that you may do that if they have attacked you first.
Well, then how can it be that in the same breath it says Islam means peace? How can that be if they're asking people in the Quran to kill others who don't believe in the same religion?
Islam actually means surrender or submission, is what it actually means.
Well, doesn't that mean peace to a certain extent?
Peace with Allah. You're surrendering to Allah. That doesn't necessarily mean peace with other people.
I see.
So, and so now that Islam controls the agenda in a lot of countries, the question is, okay, if Islam's not really under attack, do those verses apply? And I think that's the discussion inside Islam, is whether those verses mean you can go and attack anybody you disagree with, or whether only if you are under attack may you respond.
Okay, we have some video of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. This runs a little bit now. It's about 1:50 long. As we take a look at it, you can describe, we'll talk over this thing. Dome of the Rock, and I've been inside the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. Went there when I visited. You just came back from there about 3 months ago. You've got to take your shoes off. There's a huge, gigantic rock inside this dome, as you know.
Right.
What is that? Is that a meteorite?
No.
It's not?
No.
Okay. The one in Mecca is, though.
The one in Mecca is they think is a meteorite.
All right. The rock that I saw inside this dome here came from where?
That's native to Jerusalem. The legend inside the Dome of the Rock is that is where Muhammad ascended into heaven for his night ride into heaven.
Yeah, on a white horse.
On a horse, yes.
Okay,
yes.
All right.
And it was also the place, they say that same rock is the place where Abraham sacrificed Ishmael. Of course, the Bible says it was Isaac, but the Quran says it was Ishmael, his other son.
Why is there such a disparity?
Well, because Ishmael is the father of many of the Arabian tribes, and most certainly the ancestor of Muhammad. So you see it from their perspective. They claim it was their ancestor and not the ancestor of the Jews, which is Isaac.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but when we went in, we had to take our shoes off, leave everything outside, so we went in one at a time, and they did frisk us.
Right.
They frisk you too?
Well, in any mosque you go in. Doesn't mean not just the Dome of the Rock. If you visit a local mosque, you will have to take your shoes off.
Yeah, but did they frisk you?
No, I don't remember being frisked.
Well, we were frisked. We weren't forced to strip or anything, but they did frisk us. They wanted to make sure there are no weapons. But this is beautiful inside. It's just absolutely gorgeous in there, and Certainly we saw a ton of Muslims there praying while we were there. And what does this represent to you in terms of that mosque inside there?
Well, of course, Islam would consider the Dome of the Rock the second or third holiest site in all of Islam. Mecca, of course, being the first.
What's the other one?
Would be the Prophet's tomb in Medina.
Okay. So you got Medina, you got Jerusalem.
And Mecca.
And Mecca. Mecca being at the top of the list.
Right. Medina was actually where the first Islamic community began, because Muhammad had to flee Mecca in the beginning before it became Islamic.
Yeah. Got to take a break here, but just ask you real quick. So you say in one of your books or one of your videos that Allah revealed himself to Adam and Eve, right? Okay. Moses, David, and Jesus.
That's the Muslim claim. That's not my claim. That's the Muslim claim.
Where did they get the information from?
They believe that that's what God revealed to Muhammad, that he'd been working through all those people before his time.
Okay. Talking with Mike Bogart, a religious scholar. He teaches at West Hills College in Lemoore, and he's been doing it for 24 years. So we're going to talk about some other religions here. You're free to call in and offer up an opinion, if you will. 436-ME-TV. Option 11, what do you think about Islam? What do you think about Mormonism? The Jehovah's Witness. What do you think about that? We're back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
At the end of the first decade of the 21st century, there were approximately 13 million members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints worldwide. Now that would be comparable to the entire population of countries like Greece and Cambodia. There are also several 100,000 members of smaller church organizations descended from the original Mormon movement. And some of these groups include the Community of Christ, formerly known as the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Church of Christ Temple Lot, and the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, the Fundamentalist branch has recently gained a measure of notoriety because of their open practice of polygamy and charges of child marriage. When the subject of Mormonism is mentioned, many people think of 2 young men dressed in suits riding around on bicycles. And maybe you've encountered these young people on your doorstep offering to take you through a basic class in religion or family improvement. Others may have friends or family who are involved in the Mormon Church, and you've wondered about what they believe.
All right, back here on the program, Connect with Me, talking about Mormonism now with Mike Bogart. He's a religious scholar, a pastor out at West Hills College, been out there 24 years. So, hey, before we move on to Mormonism, I got an email question. It says, after the Hajj, talking about Islam, is there a rise in suicides among Muslims?
Boy, I sure don't know the answer to that one. I would think that anytime there's a religious festival, there's a rise in religious devotion, which could lead to that. But that's only opinion. I don't have any kind of stats.
Is that against their religion to commit suicide, or is it not, considering the destruction we've seen the last few decades with Muslims, suicide bombers, planes going into buildings?
Those verses that we mentioned, the jihad verses, talk about if you die in jihad, if you die in defense of Islam, you go immediately to paradise.
Huh, okay.
So
do you believe that?
Do I believe that? No.
Okay. All right. Mormonism, founded by Joseph Smith in the 1820s. Who in the heck was Joseph Smith?
Joseph Smith was a very interesting individual. He grew up in Vermont and then later in upstate New York. He was one of these guys that had a reputation for, I guess you might say, being kind of a confidence man. He claimed that at the age of 15 or 16 that God appeared to him and told him to restore true Christianity on earth, that what had been there before was not the real deal, and that God was going to use him to restore the real Christianity.
So then if he founded the religion, and I'll get into this in a moment, who was Brigham Young?
Brigham
We
Young.
think of BYU, the university, but who was Brigham Young?
Brigham Young was one of his, I guess you'd say, lieutenants, one of his assistants. Very able organizer. In many religions, you'll find that the founder is the visionary, and then the next guy is the organizer. And in Mormonism, it's a classic case of that. Joseph Smith, maybe not the world's best organizer, but certainly the best convincer, the best visionary. And then, of course, Brigham Young being the guy that organized the movement.
Caller, you're on the air on Connect with Me this morning. Go ahead.
Yes. What are the key factors that make a religion? And is science becoming a religion in itself? Thank you.
I wasn't quite sure that I got the last part of that. What are the key factors in the making of a religion? Right. And is...
Not sure. He already hung up, so we can't ask him.
But you're going to ask him.
Yeah, okay. The key factors in the making of religion, obviously, you've got to have some sort of supernatural connection. That's basic to any religion. How you define that may be very different. Whether you're looking at cosmic energy, whether you're looking at a being, a deity like God. Then there's always spiritual practice, or some kind of spiritual discipline or ritual that goes along with that. So it's the human response to the supernatural, if you're going to boil it down.
Yeah, another call coming in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead. Hello.
I'm on the air. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He said, he made mention that the Coptic Christians, and we just lost 22 Coptic Christians. Correct me if I am wrong, through beheading and to the Muslim religion.
What's your question?
I guess I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. What's your question?
This time.
Do you have a question? Caller?
Hello?
Yeah. Do you have a question? Do you have a question? Yes.
I guess not. No. I guess I just want to say that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for the call. I appreciate that. Good call. Beheadings, ISIS.
Yeah. And
Christians being beheaded.
And that's been going on for a long time. We have mention of it in the news here in the United States, but it's been going on in the Middle East a long time. Coptic Christians have been under pressure for many, many years.
Because?
Because they're a religious minority in a Muslim-dominated country. But Syria has always had its Christian minority. Egypt's got about 10%, or did have 10% Coptic Christians.
So Coptic Christians are a target or targeted by Muslims?
Oftentimes, yes, they are. They're what you call dhimmis. Dhimmis are those Jews and Christians in Muslim countries that are tolerated. They can be there, but they're sort of second-class citizens.
I want to continue along the conversation of Mormonism because we haven't finished with that. We'll do that when we come back, and we do have a call. Let's take that, and then we'll take a break. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Good topic, John.
Thank you.
My question is, as we all know, the Middle East, all these people in these different countries they, according to what we see on TV and what they say, they're very religious, but yet they are so violent. It just bothers me that here they don't think twice about beheading somebody or using somebody to, kill other people. So how do you explain something like this?
It's a big contradiction, isn't it, caller?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, let me respond to that. Understand that this is a vast minority among the Muslim people. I mean, most Muslims are not like that.
How do we know that?
Well, because look at, you've got 2 billion Muslims in the world, and what's the small fraction of people that are actually doing these things?
We don't know what the exact fraction is.
Well, and the U.S. government would love to know what that fraction is.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Yeah, but it's that radical group in any religion that thinks it's their duty to enforce and force people to accept their viewpoint.
Yeah. Caller, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Another question that I have for him. Scientology, how do you describe this? Is this a religion or what is it?
Great question. I love that question. Yeah, Church of Scientology. I always think of Tom Cruise.
Absolutely, or Lisa Marie Presley or somebody like that.
Is that a religion?
Well, according to the United States government, it is a religion, but some European countries call it a self-help philosophy and don't classify it as a religion.
What's the difference? I mean, aren't all these religions, don't they all fall into that same category?
Self-help?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, certainly every religion has that aspect where you're improving yourself.
Right.
But I guess there's a governmental difference between religion and self-help.
Right, but does the Church of Scientology, do they believe in God? Do they believe in Jesus? Do they believe in the Holy Spirit? Do they believe in any of that?
They have very different views of what spiritual entities are.
So do they or do they not believe in God?
They believe in God, yes.
They do?
Yeah. But their emphasis is on improving yourself.
Hey, caller, are you there? Can you wait until after the break, please? Okay. Got to take a break here. So caller, hang on. We're going to talk more about this after the break. Just hang on. Be patient. I appreciate your call. Got to take a break on Connect with Me. We're talking religion. Church of Scientology wasn't one of the topics. Glad somebody brought it up, though, because I wondered about that myself. Back in just a moment.
You can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
We just lost the caller who called in, asked him to wait until after the break, but nobody on the line now. So caller, if you want to call back, it is 436-ME-TV option 11. We will take your call, continuing along the lines of Mormonism. And I want to ask you some questions about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What does that have to do with Mormonism?
It's
It's their church?
It's the largest branch of the Mormon movement.
Okay.
Joseph Smith's original Mormon movement split into a number of smaller groups, the largest of which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And so do they believe in the Holy Trinity?
They believe in their version of the Holy Trinity, yes.
Which is what?
Well, they tend to see God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost as three separate entities, very distinct entities, whereas traditional Christianity has seen one God in eternally three persons.
But they believe in the Bible, they believe in God, they believe in Jesus, they believe in the Holy Ghost, they're just not together. All right, the biggest rap on Mormonism is polygamy.
Right, I suppose some people would think of that, although it hasn't been a part of the mainstream Mormon practice since 1890. So that's a long time ago.
Well, there have been some stories in the news recently, within recent years, of some people that belong to the Mormon religion that have had more than one wife.
Certainly, certain splinter groups like the fundamentalist LDS in southern Utah, northern Arizona, places like that, continue the polygamy practice.
So you're telling me that the modern day Mormons do not believe in that now?
The mainstream Mormons that you might know, in the community,
like Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney would not believe that God's will for today is polygamy, that it was only for that period of time back in the 1800s.
Well, why was it good then and it's not good now?
Their explanation is that there were so many surplus women in the Mormon movement that they needed to be attached to somebody. Somebody needed to take care of them. However, in 1852, I believe it is, Brigham Young, their second leader, had a revelation that said that God's will was that polygamy be practiced by Mormons.
So did God's will change during that time period?
It's interesting that God's will changed in coincidence with the U.S. Congress refusing to admit Utah to the Union until they cleaned that practice up. But I think
God's will, I don't think, has ever changed.
Well, right, and I mean that's my perspective. But
right. His will, isn't it consistent throughout the course of time and history?
You're asking me as a Christian. Yes, I believe that.
Yeah, but the Mormons obviously don't. They have their own version of it. Is what you're saying.
Mormons believe that some of God's will can be updated depending upon the need of the time.
Yeah, and so when you're talking polygamy, you're talking about having sex and maybe children with your own children. Is that correct?
No.
No?
No. That would never have been their viewpoint.
Back then?
No, not at all.
Okay, I thought that was part of it. No, you're telling me no.
No.
Okay.
No, that would be incest. They've never been for incest.
Okay. All right. But they do believe, or at least they did, in having more than one wife.
Yes.
All right. Jehovah's Witness. Roll a videotape, and we'll talk about the group that comes up to your front door, maybe not every Saturday, but many Saturdays during the month. Let's take a look.
In these early years of the 21st century, the Jehovah's Witnesses have become a familiar part of society in many parts of the world. Jehovah's Witnesses are active in more than 250 countries, and they're growing by something like 300,000 new members each year. Their worldwide membership to date is approaching 20 million, with an influence and visibility far exceeding their numbers. Now, when the subject of the Jehovah's Witnesses is brought up in a conversation, what may come to mind is the image of 2 or 3 nicely dressed people calling at your door and asking you if you would like to start a home Bible study on maybe the subject of biblical prophecy or current events. And maybe you've heard about one of the highly publicized cases of a Jehovah's Witness who is in dire medical need but who refuses to accept a blood transfusion. Or perhaps you might think of their lavishly illustrated literature, which focuses on the contemporary issues of the day, such as divorce, contraception, or parenting.
All right, you're welcome to call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11, talking about Jehovah's Witness. And you mentioned in the video there, Mike, that they refuse to accept any kind of blood transfusions if there is a medical emergency. Do they believe, well, let me ask you first of all, why?
They use several passages out of the Bible. There's one in Leviticus, there's one in the book of Acts that they use that seem to indicate that God does not want people to partake of blood. Normally, that seems to be understood in terms of eating blood, blood kinds of food.
Like a vampire or something?
Well, or blood sausage, or had some
bats.
Yeah, stuff like that. But they take it to mean that you cannot receive blood in any form.
Yeah, and so if they have a medical emergency, do they believe in taking their own to, say, an emergency room, a medical office?
They would use doctors, yes, but not in terms of blood transfusions.
Isn't that odd?
Well, I think it's odd. Many people would consider it to be odd.
Founded in 1879 by who, Jehovah's Witness?
By Charles T. Russell.
Charles T. Russell. So what do they believe in? What are these people about? What's their belief? Do they believe in the Bible? Do they believe in God?
Yes, they have their own distinctive version of the Bible called the New World Translation of the Bible. Mm-hmm. So, if you read it, there'll be passages that will sound kind of odd. They've kind of retranslated some of that. But yes, they believe in the Bible. They believe in a Unitarian version of God in the sense they don't believe in the Trinity. They only believe that, that Jehovah is God and that Jesus is another being, a separate being.
Mm-hmm. But not the Son of God.
But not the Son of God, no.
Huh, no. Really?
Yeah. In Jehovah's Witness doctrine, Jesus is the supreme created being. He's over all creation, but he's still a created being.
Is that right? And so what about Satan? Do they believe in Satan?
Oh, certainly.
They do?
Oh, yeah.
What about Mormons? Do they believe in Satan?
Yes.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Islam, do they believe in Satan?
Yes, indeed.
So everybody believes in Satan.
Everybody's got the devil down.
Everybody's got the devil, man, in them, right? To a certain extent.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
And so the Jehovah's Witness, they believe, from what I've read, is that when you die, you go into this state of non-existence.
Correct.
You're not conscious of either heaven or hell.
They believe in what you call annihilation. You cease to exist at death. If you're not under their, program, I guess you'd say.
So why they don't believe that when you die they're going to see their God?
Yes, they will.
They will.
They will. If you're not a Jehovah's Witness, you experience annihilation.
Is that what they believe?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on now, talk about the New Age movement. And this one is a little baffling to me. I don't know much about this. It's a religious/spiritual movement that started back in the 1970s. What a surprise. New Age, early 1970s, just coming in, coming out of Vietnam in the 1970s, and of course the 1960s, the hippie age, right? And so or the free spirit age, right? Okay, let's take a call here real quick before we go into that. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Caller?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes. Can you explain Hinduism and the differences between that and, let's say, the three major religions of the Christian, Muslim, and Jewish religion?
Yeah, that's
what's
good.
the main difference?
Well, Hinduism.
Yeah.
First of all, understand that Hinduism is a category or a label that the British put on religious practice in India when they dominated India. So what you've got inside Hinduism is a bunch of different religious stuff going on. It would be highly polytheistic, meaning many different gods and goddesses, a great variety of practice. So how that contrasts with Judaism and Islam and Christianity, all of those are monotheistic religions, only one God.
Okay.
So that's a very brief comparison there.
So Hinduism, they believe in one or more God.
They believe their number is 330 million gods. That's their number.
Okay. All right. We're talking with Mike Bogart. He is a religious scholar, a pastor out at West Hills Community College in Lemoore. We'll talk about the New Age movement developed and designed back in the early 1970s, my friend. We'll talk about that. Have you ever heard of it? 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're here. We got plenty of time left. Back in a moment.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highways.
That's for us, good buddy. The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. He's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there. Officer Poncherello, man. Frank Poncherello. Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
In these early years of the 21st century, the New Age movement has become a familiar part of society. New Age ideas, practices, and terminology are a pervasive part of the everyday lives of millions of people. Now, when you hear the term New Age, a variety of things may come to mind. This term may conjure up the image of people sitting in a circle sharing some Eastern spiritual experience. Or perhaps you'll be reminded of a news story about a celebrity employing the techniques of feng shui in their home decor. Or maybe you'll think of a communal living situation where handicrafts and vegetarianism are the focus of group life. Many of us know or are related to people within this very diverse family of religions and philosophical groups. And perhaps you've wondered about what they believe and practice.
All right, the New Age movement, was this developed by some people coming out of Woodstock in 1968, 69?
Well, let's say it coalesced in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Some of the origins had been going on for a long time before that, but when the first person to say New Age movement probably was in the 70s or 80s.
So I read where they believe this is they have a holistic view of the cosmos. Is that true? And if so, what does that mean?
Again, let me just back up and say that the New Age movement is a category of religious practices and groups.
So they believe in a combination of religions.
Yeah, and not every group that we would classify as New Age is going to have the same beliefs as the other groups. But yes, they tend to have what they call a holistic view of the universe. In other words, the idea that spirit can't be separated from material, and that all of us have equal connection with God and the supernatural.
And they focus on healing, self-channeling.
A lot of self-improvement, what they call self-actualization is part of a lot of their practices, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And how many people are in this religion, would you say, worldwide, even in this country?
Tough to tell. I would say certainly
a couple of million?
Oh, yeah. Maybe 5-10 million is my guess.
New Age movement. Do they go to church?
They have their own meetings of different kinds, like Church of Scientology might be classified that way. But you've got Swedenborgianism, there's different transcendental movements.
Yeah.
Even the Hare Krishnas might have been in that at one point.
So New Age could be a whole host of smaller religions that are kind of encompassed under one umbrella?
Exactly right. That's a good way of talking about it.
All right. Shall we talk about the Bible, Christianity? We got like 15 minutes left, so I think we can talk about Christianity probably for another hour and 15,
Sure.
if not more. Let's roll a videotape. It's called the 45-Minute Bible, another video produced by Michael Bogart.
It's the book of Christianity, and to be honest, as a Catholic, I don't read the Bible that much as I should be.
That's the way of life. I need to finish reading it. I got to that one book after Judges, and I read some of Matthew. Slow.
There's some truth to it because there is history in it. As for some of the stuff, I don't believe that it actually occurred.
Well, when I hear people talk about it, like some of my friends, they are pretty religious and they go to church pretty often, and they'll understand what I don't understand what they're talking about. I feel like I should read more, even just to be able to have conversations with people. My family is very religious. I just don't find the time to. I don't know. It just doesn't have an importance in my life yet. I hope it does soon.
Yep, another video produced by Michael Bogart. Yeah, a lot of non-believers too. You get some non-believers in your class, do you?
Oh, certainly. It's a secular college. You got everybody that is represented in the community. Yeah.
You ever get somebody in the class stand up and say, "Bogart, you don't know what you're talking about"?
Well, I lay down ground rules the first session and say, look, there's a lot of disagreement in this class. Every one of us has got our biases.
We're going to arguments?
Not really, because my ground rule is we're respectful to each other. We can disagree, but we have to be respectful.
Yeah, but so if you have a class of how many?
Usually it's somewhere between 40 and 50 per class.
How many of those are non-believers on average?
I would
10%?
You mean non-affiliated with any religion?
They don't believe in God. They don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in pretty much any religion. They're just kind of, out there and.
I would say my guess is about 15%. I don't really.
15% of non-believers.
People that just say, I don't know what to believe, or I don't have a belief or something like that.
You ever get a student walk in and say, I'm agnostic?
Oh, all the time.
They tell you right to your face.
Well, I say in the first session of class, if you'd like to share where you're coming from religiously.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, and they do. Some of them say, I have no idea. That's why.
Do you ever have anybody come into the class being a non-believer and walk out a believer?
What I have them do, and of course this is a secular college. I'm not pushing my own faith.
I understand.
But I have them as one of their projects is they can visit any religious service of their choice and write a report about it. And sometimes I have students say, you know what, I think I'm going to go back to that service.
Right. Okay, roll a videotape. Jerusalem, apparently where a lot of this started. Let's talk a little bit of a combination between Christianity and Judaism, because they're almost one and the same, with one exception, that being the belief that Jesus is or is not the Son of God. So as we're looking at the videotape here, Christianity, there are disputes within the religion of what actually happened 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely right, yeah. Yeah, you've got, the difference between Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic and the different Protestant groups. There's a lot of disagreement.
Baptists.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But those disagreements are usually in-house disagreements. And so, most...
Now, we're looking at the Great Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall, as it's often called. That's where Jews go to pray.
That's where some Jews go to pray as a very holy place, yes.
Yeah. And what are we looking at here in Jerusalem?
That looks like part of the wall of the city of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that looks like a cemetery outside.
And this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And that being, I think right there, we just got out of it full screen, but that area there that I just saw for a moment, there's a big wooden slab that's down, and they believe that's where the body of Jesus was laid after he died on the cross. They brought him down and laid him down on that piece of pine wood, plywood, whatever it is.
Yeah. That's an awesome place. I mean, you were there.
Yeah.
You see people kissing the slab and weeping over this, because if that's where Jesus' body was, you can imagine how people would become so emotional that this is where it actually happened.
Yeah, this is where his body actually where they laid his body after his death.
Right, yeah.
And then rose from the dead after that.
And then, of course, the upper part of the church where the cross was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then on the other side,
it's a rock.
the tomb.
It's a big rock.
Yeah.
And it's enclosed in a big case, so
Right.
nobody can chip it.
Right.
Anyway, we're going to come back here with Mike Bogart in just a moment. Time to take a break. 436 MeTV option 11. We're back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip-up and slide under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the program, talking to Mike Bogart, a religious scholar, a pastor, West Hills College in Lemoore. Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'd like to know what the Seventh-day Adventists stand for in their religion.
Okay, Seventh-day Adventists. Of course, they're a Christian group. They got started back in the 1840s, a little bit before that perhaps, under a very learned but not trained leader called William Miller. They believed that Jesus' return was imminent back in the 1840s, and that he actually returned invisibly. And they come out of that movement, which is called Restorationism, back in the early 1840s.
Great. Does that answer your question? He's gone. Okay. Put up a picture of the Pope. Pope Francis. Your thoughts on him?
Well, it's too early to tell exactly what he's going to be like, although he seems to be a very accessible leader. He shows every sign of having a lot of tendencies to do some innovation, maybe even some cleanup that needs to be done. He seems to be very well liked. I just started a Twitter account right about the time that Pope Francis came on the scene, and for one day Pope Francis was following me on Twitter, so I guess that's his claim to fame.
I wonder if it's really him or his handlers that are on Twitter.
Well, I don't know, but I just thought it was cool that Pope Francis is now following me on Twitter for one day.
Are you Catholic? Are you Catholic?
No, I'm a Protestant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's roll a videotape. Gaza fighting. There is a lot of fighting in the Gaza, and certainly a year ago there was a lot of fighting between the Israeli army and Gaza. There were rockets coming in. There's this dispute, always has been, for what? Generations, thousands of years, between the Arabs and Jews fighting over this land. Where is this going to end up in your opinion, and how does Christianity fit into all this? And another question, the dispute between Christians and Jews over Jesus. Why?
Well, where's it all going to end up? I wish I knew. It's got to be resolved sometime, or it could lead us into another world war. And of course, every group's got its agenda. The Palestinians want their land back, and the Jews are determined to have a homeland and all that, which I'm sure you're very well aware of. How does Christianity fit into it? I would hope that at some point the Christians get heavily involved in reconciliation, helping these groups. Maybe Christianity can serve as the middle ground.
Well, at the height of the Clinton administration, they were close to a deal, and the Palestinians are the ones that rejected. Yasser Arafat rejected the plan that was on the table after agreeing to it.
Well, and the Palestinians were getting about 95% of what they asked for.
Of the West Bank, they were getting 95% of the West Bank, but they said, "Oh, look, this is not fertile land. There's no water. There's no this. There's no services." What are you making that deal for?
Well, and it's a shame. I think there are those people in the region that really kind of profit by the destabilization of the different groups, and unfortunately, that's the way.
To keep them battling.
I think so. I really do.
The rift between Christians and Jews over Jesus. Why?
Of course, Jews believe that Jesus was perhaps a rabbi that taught at the time, but not the Son of God.
Why? Didn't any of the Jews see any of the miracles that supposedly he performed?
Well, the early Christians were all Jews. All of the early Christians.
The prophets.
Right. All of the early Christians, Peter, Paul, James, all those guys were Jewish people.
John.
Yeah. But, and of course, then later on, many non-Jews, Gentiles, became part of the Christian movement. So yes, there were Jews at the very beginning that thought that Jesus was the Messiah. But the majority did not.
Why didn't it filter down through the masses?
Because Jesus wasn't really what they were expecting. Jesus did not fulfill the prophecies in the way that many of the Jewish leaders were expecting Jesus, or expecting the Messiah to fulfill the prophecies. So I think that was behind a lot of it. And then eventually, there's some real division. You allow a number of Gentiles, or many numbers of Gentiles, to come in. Lots of Jews can't accept that, and so the rift tended to widen a bit.
All right, an email question. U.S. considers Scientology a religion. It's a big deal from a tax perspective.
That's correct.
It is.
Right. Because if you're considered a religious entity, then you're not taxable if you have your 501c3.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very smart, huh?
Right, exactly.
Buddhism. Who's Buddha?
Buddha lived about 2,500 years ago, lived about 500 BC, something like that.
Okay.
And really, Buddhism is the first self-help movement that we know.
It's a self-help deal.
Yep.
Okay, caller, very limited time, but go ahead. You can ask your question quickly.
Yeah, I wanted to know what the Seventh-day Adventists stand for, but then I got cut off before they could really answer my question. I wanted to know, do they believe the Son of God, like the Catholic Church believes that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, are you finished with your question?
Are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I want to believe they believe in the Son of God, like the Catholic religion does.
Okay, thank you.
Seventh-day Adventists would have a similar view to the Catholic Church on that issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would. They believe he was the Son of God.
Okay. If you came into this studio and started teaching us about religion, what would be the first thing that you would tell us?
First of all, we have to set ground rules. We have to be respectful. We have to talk facts. And what I design my videos and books to do is to start with the facts. We can have our opinions, but we need to base our opinions on what's really true. And so I would set it up as a fact base.
You would teach respect first.
Yes.
But what would you teach us about religion? What's the one common thread that all religions have?
I think that it's like St. Augustine said. He said that there's
I don't know what he said.
Well, he said a lot of things. He said there's a religious vacuum inside every person, and that there's this incurable need for some kind of religious expression.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what's driving a lot of the different religions. And of course, in different parts of the world, people try to find religion in different ways.
Do you find people grasping for straws, looking for a religion that's going to help them, like a self-help deal?
Yeah, different people have different reasons for doing that. Some of them want to improve themselves. Some of them really want to connect with the supernatural.
Are people more into religion now than they were 2,000 years ago?
I think they're into religion in different ways now. Yeah, but
back then there were only a few.
Right.
There was only Judaism, Islam, and Judaism and Christianity.
Well, and there's Hinduism and Buddhism around for a long time.
Right.
I just think we've done it differently these days.
Right.
But yeah, people are still very religious.
All right. Website real quick.
Mindcuisine.com. MINDCUISINE.com. You can order the videos and books there.
All right. My pleasure meeting you.
John, great to be here.
All right. Come back again. Love this conversation.
Plan to do it. Yep.
Mike Bogart, a religious scholar, West Hills College in Lemoore. Back tomorrow with another edition of Connect with Me. Remember, we're going to tackle the issue of the DA. The assistant DA will be here, and then we'll tackle that tough issue with the corruption scandal surrounding FIFA. See you tomorrow. Have a good day.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.